Hey there, my name is Nick, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 study resources that I use to prepare for the CISSP exam. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel, I talk about building a successful career for yourself in cybersecurity and information technology. If you're looking to pass the CISSP exam, make sure to hit the like button down below, so that way I know that you liked this video, you found it valuable, and so that the YouTube algorithm pushes it out to other people that are also looking to pass the CISSP exam as well. So as you might imagine, the CISSP exam requires a bit of strategy when preparing to test and take and ideally pass the exam, right? And the reason why is because there's so many different types of topics that they do cover in the exam. I mean, they cover network communication, software development, governance, risk and compliance, cybersecurity fundamentals like security operations, and some of the more high-level principles that we learn early on in our cybersecurity careers. So with all of these different types of topics, and there's a lot more, there's actually like 8 domains, and they're going to be testing on the technology and then how you protect the technology. So with all of these different topics that we're going to be tested on when we're preparing for the exam, how do you go about preparing for them? I mean, can I really just leverage this one handbook and say that's enough for me to pass the CISSP exam? You know, honestly, not necessarily. When I was preparing for my exam, I did leverage the official CISSP study guide, which I have it right here. I have actually 3 of them. This is the one that I use, which is quite large. This right here is the new one, which as you can see is smaller. Now, with the CISSP exam being so difficult and so vast, how can we just depend on one book to prepare for it? Well, as you can see here, I have 3 books, 3 CISSP study guides, 2 in which are the ones that I use. This other one here is the 9th edition. That's the newest one. The 2 that I have here, those were the ones that I used to prepare for the exam. Now, official study guides, yes, they are very, very important. They are going to lay the groundwork and give you a very good idea of the different types of questions and how they're going to ask the questions. I should say the topics and how they're going to ask the questions about the topics. That's what's going to be in these books. Now, what you're not going to learn is how the technology works to great depth. They will touch on it, things like Kerberos. They will explain Kerberos in detail. But I got to be honest with you, when I was preparing to take my exam and I was learning Kerberos, I didn't understand it. And even to this day, to be honest with you, I still don't quite perfectly understand it. Kerberos is very advanced. But you know, I knew it enough because I had gone to other resources to help me understand it. And in this video, we're going to be talking quite a bit about those other resources. But I would say that the first resource that I used was the official study guide. And I did double down and buy the all-in-one official study guide as well, which this was originally written by Sean Harris and then Fernando Mamie. Sorry if I mispronounced that last name, but he kind of added to it, appended to it, and made some adjustments. But the official study guide, 8th edition by Mike Chappell, was the one that I kind of used. That was kind of like my Bible for 6 weeks. I read it any waking moment that I had where I wasn't, you know, working and I wasn't around family or I didn't have any family obligations to tend to, so I would get away. You know, I would wake up early, study, stay up late, study on the weekends, run off to a coffee shop, study. If I was at work waiting on something, studying at my desk. I read through this one time, front to back, and then I leveraged the CISSP all-in-one study guide here as kind of a supplementary resource to highlight anything that I didn't quite grasp from the official study guide right here. And I did that for a lot of various topics because with the 8 domains that you're going to be tested on when you're preparing for the CISSP exam, there's not really any way for one person, I mean, I'm willing to bet money on this, to be honest, that not one person or the majority of the people that are taking the CISSP exam have extended experience in all of the 8 domains that you're going to be tested on. So when you're preparing for it, there's likely going to be some knowledge gaps that you're going to have, and you're going to want to educate yourself on those areas because you might be stronger in some areas. Not that you know everything and you don't have to, but in the other domains, you will want to make sure you brush up on those topics. So That being said, these are great guides to get you through, but you are going to need some other resources as well. So in addition to the 2 study guides that I have here and the latest 9th edition, which is a little bit smaller, I had to leverage some other resources as well. Not that I actually depended on the 9th edition, that just came out last week and I just wanted to show you how skinny it is. I didn't use that a year ago when I was preparing for my CISSP exam. I just used these 2 books right here. But for the practice exams and for, just overall preparation and trying to understand and digest some of the concepts that I didn't understand in the study guides, I had to leverage some other resources. And I'm gonna hop over and share my screen. So let's go ahead and do that. So the next thing that I leveraged were some Udemy courses that I had found online. And that's just because Udemy courses are notorious for being cheap and affordable. And if you work at a company that has like a business agreement with them, which I highly recommend if you do not know, make sure to find that out. You can actually get a lot of Udemy courses for free because some of the instructors, they, for the more popular courses, they have built a partnership and agreement with Udemy to share their courses out there in more of a subscription model with the business partners that partner with them. So at the time I was working with Deloitte and they had that type of agreement. So I could just log on to Udemy using my Deloitte credentials and I was able to access the courses here. And as you can see here, Thor has a lot of great certification courses. He teaches the PMP. He has a lot of CISSP content and some of the CISM content as well. And that's really what I leveraged. Now, I didn't use all of Thor's courses. And that's not to say that he's not a great instructor. I thought his information was highly valuable in the areas that I didn't know about, which I'm not a huge network guy. I had some networking experience in the past when I was working at a managed services provider, but I'm just not the route switch type guy. I don't have a CCNA or anything like that. So I needed to understand a little bit more information, a little bit more to a little bit more detail on the cybersecurity concepts that we're going to be tested on in my CISSP exam. So I went to Thor's content and I was able to find some very valuable lectures and just overall content and explanations that were touching on some of the components to the CISSP material that I didn't understand when it came to network security. So I highly recommend that you leverage courses, especially Thor's. I thought Thor's was very helpful. And the next study course that I used was Kelly Handerhan's CISSP course on CyberA. Now, the course was good. It didn't have a lot of in-depth information. Not to say anything negative about the course. I thought that the course was very helpful. And I think that it's kind of like on the same level as the exam, right? It covers a lot of the baseline topics and it'll give you a pretty good idea of what to expect when you're taking your exam. But like when it comes to the actual detail that I was having trouble understanding, and to be quite frank, I was having trouble answering when I was taking a practice exam. I didn't quite get what I was looking for from this with everything. And again, that's nothing negative to say. That's just a difficult thing to cover when it comes to the CISSP. For any instructor that's going to be teaching the CISSP, it's just hard for you to go into great depth with every single knowledge item that's going to be tested on when you're taking the exam. Like that's just natural because we're not all experts in every single topic, which is the reason why I'd be willing to bet money that going into this, you're not going to know everything. That's just point blank. So anyways, going back, I found this course to be helpful. It did help me understand some more content or some of the more fundamental topics, especially when it came to I think it was GRC is one of the reasons that I came here, and maybe some asset management stuff, which I already knew a lot. I think that I scored almost perfect in my asset security domain because it tells you, kind of where you were, or not percentage wise, but it kind of gave you like a pretty good understanding of how well you did based on each domain. And I think when it came to asset security and software development security, I did really well. But and security engineering and architecture. But when it came to some of the others, that was a little bit weaker for me, especially when it came to let's see here. These are the exact domains. But I think when it came to security assessments and testing, I didn't quite know a lot about that. So anyways, I used other resources for these domains, and Kelly Handerhan was one of them. Now, when it came to practice exams, I don't have a better recommendation than Boston's XSIM Max for CISSP 2020. Now, the exam was rebuilt or republished this year. It was just republished back in June or May? I think it was May 15th. So I don't know that this is going to be totally relevant. I think it still will, because the changes that they made on the new CISSP exam were just marginal. It was just like a 1% uptick in the software security section, and I think they reduced the network security down by 1% as well. This, regardless of what, the changes of the exam, I found that the CISSP practice exam was extremely helpful. The questions are so similar to what you're going to see on the actual exam itself, except for the fact that the actual exam uses the computerized adaptive testing method, and this is not like that. This is going to be just a typical linear exam process. If you want to learn more about the CAT method and my experience testing for the CISSP, I'll put a video up here in the card, so check for that link. You can also find a link down in the description below where I'll be talking more about that. But anyways, going back to practice exams, I don't have a better recommendation than Boston, so check them out. If you're looking for more questions, sometimes people want to just continue pushing questions and over and over and over. I found that Thor's questions were very good as well. He does have them, so I think this is a video, 89 lectures, 32 lectures. Let's see here, hard CISSP practice questions. So we have the 34 minutes. I'm not quite sure how that works. Oh, here we go, 125 questions, and it covers all the CISSP domains. So that's good. You can leverage these other resources like practice exams on Udemy and other platforms as well to kind of help you get more questions in your face, in your minds, thinking more and more about the CISSP concepts, and helping you prepare. Now, the last thing that I'm going to have to reference as a good CISSP study resource is Google. And I hate to be redundant here, but honestly, if there's anything you don't know when you're preparing for the exam, whether that be you're reading a topic in the official study guide or you're in a practice exam, if you're in a practice exam, jot it down on an empty piece of paper, whatever it is. If you're not sure what Kerberos is or something like that, write it down, okay? Then go to Google after your exam and learn about it. If I'm going to learn about Kerberos, let's see if I can spell that right. Okay, so here's Kerberos. It's a protocol, and it's for network authentication. I'm going to go ahead and learn about it. So here, Kerberos was designed by MIT. So here's a great place to get started, and I can learn all about it there. I can go to Wikipedia. I can go to Varonis and learn more about Kerberos here. That's all I'm trying to say. If you don't understand a concept, maybe you're a master at Kerberos. I'm not, but maybe you are. Go to Google and learn about the topic. Don't be lazy. Get on the internet and go and figure out whatever it is you don't understand. You have so many resources to your disposal. So if you don't find it in a course, you don't understand it quite in the depth of, that you need it to be within the official study guides, go online and go and find the resources out there. Somebody has talked about it. Somebody has written about it. You just need to go and find it and learn it. There's a couple YouTube videos, which is obviously, you found me here. So YouTube's another great resource. Get on there and learn it. You have no excuses. Get out there and learn it. That's what I had to do. So you keep this process up over and over and over, you will end up passing your CISSP exam. All right, so that about wraps up this video. I hope you found this helpful. This is it. These are the 5 resources that I use to study for the CISSP and pass it on the first attempt. And I guarantee you that if you follow all the steps that I mentioned in this video and in the video that I'm going to link right here, if you click that link right there and you watch that other video on my study process for preparing for the CISSP, I'll also put a link down in the description below so you can't miss it. You will pass the CISSP exam. It's more about understanding the mindset. You're going to be tested as a manager. So this is a management and cybersecurity certification. So they're going to ask you questions, things like, what is the best thing to do for the people, for the organization? All of the answers could be right, and usually they are right, but your job is to determine which one is the best option for you to choose. And that's what makes the CISSP hard, is understanding which one is the best, because you have to not only understand what the question's asking you, you have to understand what every single answer actually is in greater depth so that you can understand how to answer the question the right way, if that makes sense. So understanding all of these concepts just enough to pass the exam is the goal. And there's a lot of concepts that you're going to be tested on. So if you don't understand something, don't just breeze past it and just say to yourself, I don't need to learn this because I'm going to do well in these other domains that I do know. Don't do that. You're going to sell yourself short, and you may fail the exam if you do that. There are a lot of concepts in here that I do know for the CISSP. There's also a lot more that I don't know. And for those that I don't know, I had to use these resources online. I had to go on Google and YouTube and make sure that I digested it a lot. I mean, really, really understood it. And if I couldn't figure it out then, I would go and talk to somebody that knew it better than I did and learn it that way. So if you need to find people, you can reach out to me, drop a comment down in the section below, reach out to people on LinkedIn that are experts in this area, say, hey, I'm studying for the CISSP exam. There's this question on, I don't know, IDE security or IDS, intrusion detection systems, and you don't deal with the intrusion detection systems. So what do you need to know there? Okay, so if you need to know that, go reach out to somebody that deals with network security on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm studying for the CISSP. I have this question here, and I was wondering if I could borrow just 5-10 minutes of your time and ask you a little bit about this. Chances are you may end up finding somebody that's willing to help you. I know I did, and you'll get the information you need so you can go and move on with your life and go move on to the next topic you may not understand or test for the CISSP exam. That being said, this concludes this video. I hope you found this helpful. I will see you in the next one.